Most women of a certain age who've gone through menopause are very familiar with symptoms like sleep disturbances, hot flashes, brain fog, and much more. But far from being just a joke around the office, scientists now understand how some of these symptoms are related to very real changes in the body and brains of women and how they might be affecting them in the workplace. Claudien Gauthier is a neuroscientist in the physics department at Concordia University, and she joins us now. So, Claudien, this week you're going to be speaking at an event titled Breaking the Silence, Menopause and Women's Health in the Workplace. What is the reason for this discussion, do you think?
I think menopause is something that, of course, affects 50% of the population, but surprisingly enough, we know very little about it still. There's been not that much research on it, and in the end, many women are left without answers, and the people around them don't really understand why suddenly they have all these symptoms and personality changes even.
And you have been looking at the brains and brain images of women, right, who are going through menopause. What have you seen?
So what we see is mostly changes in vascular health. So the health of the blood vessels changes through the menopause transition. So both through perimenopause, menopause, and the ability of the brain to use oxygen to be able to function. And in our research, we also study the effect of hormone replacement therapy. And so far in our preliminary data, what we see is that while hormone replacement therapy is able to help with the vascular aspects of brain health that is changed by menopause, that is less true for the metabolic aspect. So only some of it can be rescued by hormone replacement therapy.
And is it permanent once it happens?
I mean, our data only goes up to about 60 years of age, but we don't really see any reversal. So it looks like it probably is. And in fact, these are changes that we see with aging in general as well, and with vascular disease. So it's basically menopause kind of puts women on this trajectory towards lower vascular and metabolic health and aging that they're protected against before.
Okay, so that obviously has an effect on the brain, which would account for what we know as brain fog, memory, cognition, but also does it affect the body in other ways that could be dangerous?
Yeah, so we know that basically women are protected against all sorts of chronic diseases before menopause. And then once menopause is well entrenched, then women start developing these diseases. And in fact, post-menopause, they start developing them faster than men. So really the menopause transition is the moment where women kind of transition towards this protected state, towards this state where we develop these chronic diseases of aging. And that's true kind of throughout the body.
And what about women who are entering into menopause? Are we seeing this in perimenopausal women as well?
That's right. So we see it in perimenopause, but even more, the way perimenopause has usually been defined was when you have 7 or more days of irregularity in your cycle. But in fact, we can start seeing these changes even before that, when the cycle is still regular, but a little bit shorter. And we think, though it's something we're still exploring, that might be due to the fact that we start losing our progesterone before we lose our estrogen, and that these brain changes start happening at that moment. And that, in fact, progesterone might even be more important for some of these brain symptoms like brain fog and cognitive changes.
Wow. So women in their 30s and 40s, I mean, in their prime years of work, are feeling these effects, right? And now, of course, there has been this tied back to prescribing more HRT for women after it was sort of a no-no for a long time. But is there a guarantee of protection of this with HRT or not even?
I mean, now most of the data points towards a lot of positive effect of HRT. HRT is still mostly studied as kind of after menopause, once we lose our estrogen. But I think one thing that starts to be prescribed more is actually progesterone replacement therapy. And there's very little data on what the benefits or problems that can be associated with it in the brain. But women report feeling less tired, less brain fog after they start on progesterone, though there's so much more work that needs to be done on this.
Obviously, and so much more discussion of it. As I said, if women are suffering from this kind of stuff in their 30s and 40s right through their entire work time, I mean, there has to be more understanding of this in the office.
And before they know they are in perimenopause, right? Because during that period of life, like the cycle is mostly normal, perhaps a little bit shorter. And so women don't even know that they're already in perimenopause. And so they don't realize perhaps that some of their symptoms are actually hormonal in nature and not, because, I don't know, they're tired because they have small children or a lot of responsibilities, because again, this is a moment in life where women have a lot of responsibilities.
I was going to say, when is there a moment in life when women don't have responsibilities? But anyway,
that is
that's
very
a whole
true.
other subject. Tomorrow you're going to be speaking on this event titled Breaking the Silence, Menopause and Women's Health in the Workplace. And that is at Concordia University. There are still tickets available. Thank you, Claudien Gauthier, for your input. And we look forward to hearing more about this at the event.
Thank you.